The Trapper is not the best killer in Dead by Daylight. Big shocker. He isn't exactly the most exciting to watch or to talk about, but there's only so much you can do to stop your channel from becoming montage after montage, so here we are. The Trapper is an area control killer who uses his bear traps to shut down loops, windows, and pallets. The best way I can describe a bear trap is like a math equation. They take a lot of time to get, a lot of time to set up, and if you do it wrong, you get to do it all over again. You can carry one bear trap at a time without any add-ons, and you can find more bear traps around the map. You can place a trap down to arm it. Survivors who step in an armed trap are stuck in that spot for a while until they are either freed or they struggle out themselves. When a survivor is freed from the trap, they become injured and they can move again. Survivors can disarm armed bear traps, which allows them to walk over it safely until you arm it again. And don't complain about survivors being able to disarm your bear traps, because it used to be a lot worse for the Trapper. Survivors could sabotage your traps, which would just completely remove them from the match. You couldn't get it back at all. Survivors could even bring Saboteur to ruin your traps without needing a toolbox. Now let's talk strategy. Bear traps are best used in tall grass and by windows that lead to a fall, where survivors have a harder time seeing them. They're more effective in places where survivors don't expect them to be, so that they don't check for them and disarm them. Pallets and windows aren't always the best place to put a bear trap, because survivors will expect them there. Windows that lead to a drop, however, such as the windows in Haddonfield, are an exception, since survivors can't see them quite as well looking through the window. Placing traps in tight quarters, such as the fenced-off alleyways in Haddonfield, are a great way to catch unsuspecting survivors. The Trapper, just like everyone in the known universe, comes with 3 teachable perks. Unnerving Presence reduces the success zones on skill checks by 50% and increases the likelihood of getting a skill check by 10%. The only reason this hasn't been changed is for impossible skill check builds, and nobody can change my mind. Brutal Strength gives you a black belt in karate and lets you break pallets and generators 20% faster. This perk is great for slower killers who need to respect pallets, such as Hag and Trickster. It also combos well with Spirit, Fury, and Enduring to keep a lot of pressure in a chase. Agitation allows you to move 18% faster while carrying a survivor. Do I really need to explain what this is good for? Of course, there are also perks that counter you, because killers can never have one good thing. The obvious counter to you is Dead Hard, because if you dash over a bear trap, you don't get caught by it. Small Game also slightly counters you, but this is going to be changed soon in the newest update. Finally, Up the Ante grants a bonus luck for each survivor who is still alive, and luck influences the chances of escaping a bear trap. Decisive Strike does not counter you. Let's talk about the perks that are good on Trapper. Zanshin Tactics reveals the location of all pallets, breakable walls, and windows within 24 meters. It seems like an obvious one for Trapper, but you could always just use your eyes instead and save a perk slot. It still helps if you're new to certain maps, though. Thanatophobia decreases totem cleansing and generator repair speed by 5% for each survivor who is injured, dying, or hooked. It's great for game slowdown, which is something Trapper struggles with. Blood Echo applies the hemorrhage and exhausted status effects to injured survivors, and can be good on Trapper if your traps keep people injured consistently. It also helps counter Dead Hard, which, as I said earlier, can be used to completely dodge your traps. Hex the Third Seal applies the blindness status effect to survivors you hit. It can actually find a use on Trapper if you combine it with his Honing Stone add-on. Survivors won't be able to see where the survivor got trapped at, so when the survivor who is trapped frees themselves, they'll be in the dying state. They could also, however, choose to not free themselves, which of course just lets you pick them up. However, you always have to run Third Seal with Undying, otherwise it'll just get cleansed within the first 17 seconds of the match. Corrupt Intervention is a perk that is great on all killers, but especially Trapper. It blocks 3 generators that are the farthest away from you for 2 whole minutes. This gives time for Trapper to set up his bear traps without getting gen rushed like the average survivor main enjoys doing. Finally, No Way Out can be helpful in the endgame. It gives you time to put a bear trap at both gate switches, which gives you information about which gate they try to open. The Trapper's add-ons are pretty nice, however many copy each other, even in the purple tier add-ons. That isn't necessarily bad, it just keeps anything from being unique. The brown add-ons aren't worth using because they are just worse versions of the other add-ons, but that's just how it has to be. I mean, if the brown add-ons were overpowered, that just wouldn't be very fun, would it? Ratliver. They make traps slightly less painful to obtain and set up. His yellow add-ons do the same thing, except now there's the logwood dye. Logwood dye slightly darkens your traps, which makes them harder to spot, especially in a chase when a survivor isn't watching their surroundings. The green add-ons are trappers' bread and butter. They make setting up bear traps much faster and quicker, and considerably darken them. The purple add-ons allow him to carry many more traps, set them tremendously faster, and, as I said before, put people in the dying state who free themselves. Finally, the trapper has 2 red add-ons. The iridescent stone chooses a random trap every 30 seconds to arm without you needing to do it yourself. It complements the other red add-on very nicely, the bloody coil. When a healthy survivor disarms a bear trap, they become injured. If you place a bear trap by a window while using both red add-ons, the survivors get a choice. Either they become injured by disarming it, and they only have it disarmed for 30 seconds, or they lose that window for the entire game. Overall, the trapper is a pretty bad killer. He takes time to set up, and unlike Hag, the other trap-setting killer, he doesn't get high mobility. He simply injures survivors. If you're lucky to be close enough to the trapped survivor, you can get a single hook. Otstarva, one of the best trapper mains in the game, claims that Trapper is a D-tier killer. If you want to try someone new, Trapper can be fun, but don't expect to do well with him. Thanks for watching my killer guide, and if you want this to become a series, I'm open to that idea. But these videos do take much longer to make, so just keep that in mind. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.